Something has occurred to me just now, which I think is important and worthwhile, and is worth thinking about. It's something that has never occurred to me before, but I do think it's important and worthwhile and worth thinking about and making a judgment upon. And what it is the internet and my access to internet information. Um, Formerly, I used to access the internet using one particular search engine, and I always used this particular search engine because it seemed to offer me all the information I wanted. It seemed to be ideal to access the internet. So it never occurred to me to use anything else or to access the internet in any other way. I always use this one particular search engine to access the internet to get all of my information. Now, I've done this for years, and I always access the internet using one particular search engine, and it never occurred to me that this was not wise, it was not healthy to access the internet using one particular search engine all the time. So it never occurred to me that this was unwise. But recently, some things have happened in my life, negative things, which have led to me accessing the internet in a different way. For some reason, the way I used to access the internet became unusable, and so I had to find a new way of accessing the internet. So I am accessing the internet now in a different way to how I used to access it. So previously I used one particular search engine to access the internet, and what I'm thinking now is that that was unwise, because it meant I was allowing one particular search engine to control my access to all the information. Now, I don't know what motivations lie behind this particular search engine, so I don't know how honest the information being presented to me is. So it never occurred to me that it was a problem to be accessing the internet using only one search engine all the time. But something's happened in my life which has caused me to access the internet in a different way. I can't understand what's happened exactly, but the bottom line is I now need to access the internet in a different way to how I used to access the internet. So in the past I always used one particular search engine to access all of my information. To access the internet always is one particular search engine to get all of my information, to do all of my searching. It never occurred to me to use any other program to access the internet. I just went with this one particular search engine because it seemed to provide all the information that I wanted. It worked well and efficiently, and there was no reason to consider using anything else. This one particular search engine seemed to be ideal to use to find all of my information. But recently something's happened in my life negatively which has caused me to not use this one particular search engine. It's caused me to use another search engine. So I had to access the internet in a different way to the way I've always accessed the internet. So for many years I've accessed the internet using one particular search engine. And I did this because it never occurred to me to use anything else, because this one engine seemed to provide all the information that I wanted, and it worked efficiently, and so why would I do anything else? But I realised now that that was unwise. It wasn't healthy to do that, to access all of my internet access, so all my internet information with one program. I don't know what motivates this particular search engine, so I don't know how honest it's being with the information it presents to me. So I've used a different search engine to access the internet for some time. What I found is that the different search engine seem to present different information to what my previous search engine provided. So I realized that I was unwise to access the internet using only one particular search engine. So the problem that's happened in my life has been beneficial in a way, because it caused me to access the internet in a different way to how I used to access it. And I found this beneficial because the information I have from the new search engine is good and gives me the information I need, whereas the other search engine that I previously used was not available to me for some reason. So I realised this is confusing, and the reason it's confusing in how I'm speaking is because I'm confused about my situation. I've had a brain injury somehow. I don't know how I got the injury, but it has caused me problems in how I think and how I do things, and so it's difficult for me to be clear in my communication sometimes. So I have thought that accessing the internet in a different way to how I used to access it. It is better for me and is wiser and is more healthy than before. So I'm glad to be accessing the internet in a different way to how I used to access the internet. So my recommendation to people now, based on my experience, is to think about how you access the internet. And be aware that you need to maximize your access to information. Previously, I always used one particular search engine to access the internet, and it never occurred to me to use any other system because this one search engine seemed to provide all the information that I wanted. But I've had this experience where I can't use that particular search engine anymore. So I've had to change the system I use to access the internet. And I found it a worthwhile change. And it has caused me to think about how I access the internet and the best way to access the internet. So the important thing I want to communicate is that you should think about how you access the internet and think about what it means to allow one particular company to control the information that's presented to you. It never occurred to me to question this and to be concerned about this. It never crossed my mind that the search engine I used was in any way bad for me or biased or unclear. The one particular search engine I used seemed to be fine, and it never occurred to me to do anything else. But this problem has happened in my life, which has caused me to use a different search engine to access the internet, and it made me think about how I control my access to the internet and how I get all of my information. So my recommendation to people is think about how you access the internet. Try and make sure that you access the internet in a fair way, an honest way, an accurate way. Try not to access the internet using a biased search engine such that the information you get is not fair and accurate. It is biased and controlled and not necessarily fair to the subject. So basically I'm thinking how I access the internet is very, very important. I never realized, never occurred to me to think about how I access the internet. I always use this one particular search engine because it seemed to be fine for information. But now I'm thinking it doesn't matter how fine the search engine is, it is not wise to use only one search engine to access the internet. I think it is worthwhile to use different search engines to access the internet, different subject areas. So what I found is that using a different search engine has provided different information to the one I used previously. And in my case, it has helped me with information. So it's been a good, worthwhile change to use this different search engine. And it has caused me to think about how I previously accessed the internet and how I've always accessed the internet. And it never occurred to me before to think about how I get access to the internet. But I think it is very, very worthwhile to think and be clear on how you access the internet, because it is not wise to allow one company to control your access to all the information on the internet. I think it is worthwhile to use different search engines sometimes to see if the information is different. So my recommendation to people is to think about how you access the internet and don't rely on just one company, one search engine to do all of your internet searching. Try and vary what you use and be, what's the word, be accurate and clear in how you access the internet. Don't rely on just one particular search engine, because you don't know what motivations lie behind a particular search engine. So you don't know how accurate the information you're receiving is. So it is worthwhile to vary how you access the internet and don't just rely on one particular search engine. I think it is worthwhile, and in my case it has proved useful to use a different search engine, and I imagine it will be useful for other people as well. Access to information on the internet is very important, and it is very important to be sure that you're receiving all the information that's available and the presentation isn't biased or unclear in some way. So that's my recommendation to people. Think about how you access the internet and try and be sure that you're getting accurate information and comprehensive information, and that the information isn't biased.